You're watching News at Prime. Let's get into this conversation now. Former ANC Member of Parliament, Bongani Bongo, says he's ready to have his day in court for corruption charges. This is after the Supreme Court of Appeal overturned his acquittal by the then Judge President of the Western Cape, John Hlophe. Bongo is accused of attempting to bribe Parliament's Eskom inquiry evidence leader, that is, Ntutuzelo Vanara. Let's speak to Bongo now, who joins me in studio this evening. Mr. Bongo, good evening to you and thank you for your time. Let's start with the developments on Friday. This is a separate matter to the one that you are possibly going to go back to court for. But on Friday, you were discharged, and I think it is along 7 others, for the matters relating to the sale of land in Mpumalanga. How did that come about?
Good evening to you, Oli, and I must say I've not seen you in a long time. And good evening to your viewers. You'll note and you must have seen the issue from Bombela. It started around, I think, 2013. It has been running all the way up until we were formally charged in 2022.
Yeah.
So it has been a very struggle, not for me, for my family, for my friends, and for my organization in general, that it's a strain. So we finally got into the conclusion, because we ran a trial that lasted for almost a year, full year running. And finally the judge or the magistrate in that commercial crime court has arrived at the decision that I have nothing to do with that thing. I have nothing to answer. So what Judge Hlophe granted in the Western Cape High Court, the section 174, in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act, that's what he granted. This one, again in Bombela, granted section 174 discharge, which means I have nothing to do with this. But to give you a background...
Just before you give that background,
all right.
The people who were discharged in terms of this section 174, is it only you or the 7 others that you were charged alongside in the Bombela case? No.
It was myself and 4 others. But you'll note it will say 7 because they were charged alongside with their companies. So a company is a juristic person.
Right.
It has its own life outside its owner. So they will say 7 others, but in terms of physical people, they are just, it's 4 others with their companies. So those were discharged in terms of the section 174 of the Criminal Procedure Act.
And I understand that one of those who was charged in the Mpumalanga matter was your brother. Was he charged with his company?
No, at the stage that we're in terms of section 174, my brother did not arrive at that point. My brother was, the prosecution itself took a decision when they were charging that they must withdraw the charges against my brother. So that was a decision of the prosecuting authority, that from what we are reading in the documents, your brother has nothing to do with these charges. So he left before the magistrate could make decisions and pronouncement. So my brother left earlier on the account of what the prosecution was reading in terms of the documents, that this man is just, has nothing to do with the case.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it would appear that the NPA intends appealing this 174 discharge. Am I correct in that understanding?
From my understanding is that they said they are reviewing. They want to review, and it is within their preview. If they want to review it, it's within their right. But once you charge people or you charge a person and you take him to the state, and the state says the person is discharged, if you want to pursue the matter further to another level, I think you may be at the border of either getting personal or either trembling with almost abusing the power that you have, because all I could do is I subjected myself to the whole process and I respected the process from A to Z. And the judge finally said, this man has nothing to answer and whatever he has done was above board. I think that is a summary of what the judge says. He said whatever contribution that Bongo did in the whole thing was above board, and all the witnesses who were brought in here shows that actually Bongo is a man of integrity. That is a summary of what was said there.
Having been taken to court on that particular trial, do you intend suing the state?
You know, this country, you know, why in 30 years of democracy. And this 30 years of democracy was founded by very serious values. And we are children of Nelson Mandela. And I believe also in forgiveness. Because those who pursued this matter, I think they thought they have a case. And on hindsight, if they don't think something is wrong, but I'm not intending to sue. I'm intending to forgive and forget, and let's pass this chapter, because it was also a very important chapter in clearing at least my name towards making sure that everything on which was hanging, because this was a big thing. When I was appointed a minister, it was when this thing came that this guy has a case to answer in Bombay. I said, what is it about?
Which is why I find it very interesting that you're willing to forgive, because that brings with it reputational damage. But I want to move on to the Western Cape one now. This is where you were accused of trying to bribe Mr. Vanara. In fact, he is the one who made the allegation. Did you do it? Did you try to bribe him?
I've seen the hype of the media about this matter, but without getting into the merits, because the case must be ventilated properly in front of a judicial officer and a judge of the High Court. But I want to give you a background, which is very important. This is a background. When this matter happened, it was reported to the Ethics Committee of Parliament. An Ethics Committee of Parliament is a multi-party committee. You know, it takes nothing if you know the Ethics Committee. It has found a lot of people guilty and so on. Myself and the said person you're talking about, we appeared there. The matter was ventilated strictly at the Ethics Committee. And the Ethics Committee test is a balance of probability. And the court test around these issues is a beyond reasonable doubt. So at the balance of probability, the Ethics Committee said we doubt this, we doubt what this man is saying. That's why I was not found guilty. I went through a process of not more than 1 day asking, like we're in court. And we went through that process. And at the end, the Ethics Committee said, no, we doubt this evidence. And you remember there, it's a balance of probability. So if we'll have to go back, we're now dealing with beyond reasonable doubt. So as we go back, we'll have to produce those minutes and what was said there, and what was said in the trial which was there. Then we present to an independent judge, and then let's see what comes out there. But there are also other witnesses, particularly the Secretary of Vanara at the time is a witness of the state, but they did not call her. If they don't call her this time, I will have to call her, because there's an affidavit she wrote.
In which she says?
In which she says that actually what Vanara is saying in his affidavit is lying. So that is what we are faced with. So that these things, we can't ventilate them in the media elsewhere. That's why I've been hesitant to come to the media. And when I don't come, you say, we have something to hide. That's why I finally said, no, let me see Goli, and also clear this thing up general, that those affidavits are there. They are part of the state case, actually, where this this Miss Slachter says, no, this man is actually lying about this other one. And it's what we are going to, when we go back now, we'll have to deal with all those issues. That's why I say, I also want my name to be cleared, like the chap, the judge in Bombela. I'm very happy with his courage to finally say, Bongo has nothing to do with this matter. And actually, clearly, I have nothing to do with those matters.
So, what is the status of the parliamentary case, therefore? When I say the parliamentary case, I'm merely referring to Parliament because this was a parliamentary investigative process. I'm trying to understand whether you have been formally informed by the NPA that the case is being revived on the back of what the Supreme Court of Appeal says was a misstep to acquit you on this matter.
I've not yet been informed, but I was in court myself when the arguments were made. I was in court myself when they gave the judgment itself. So I understand the process. And I had said, and publicly, that no, I'm prepared to get to the space, but I have already paid lawyers millions of rands to defend me in that case. And if somebody else, it's not me that have had, somebody has had, if somebody had either the prosecution or the person presiding, who must suffer? It can't be me that suffers. I'm prepared to go back, but somebody must pay the cost because as a result of all these things, I've lost job, I've lost everything. So I can't go back there as if nothing has happened to me. I've lost everything. So I'm going to say, I'm prepared to go, but please pay for the fees of my advocate so that I proceed. Other than that, because the allegations brought against me has brought so much prejudice, and it's at the border of unfairness. And I don't want to say they're abusing whatever, but I just want to say, okay, somebody must pay. If the judge made a mistake, it's not my mistake. The mistake belongs to the state. If a prosecutor made a mistake, it's not my mistake. The mistake belongs to them. So somebody must pay for those things. Then I can only present myself as an accused person again, and just to prove my case so that at least finally my name get cleared. But I can tell you now that I've consulted also with my family and everyone. We have agreed that we don't need to sue. This thing must just go. It is a phase that must get out of our way and start a life that will be brought by a lesson from this particular instance. In your considered view, who should pay your legal fees, therefore? I will have to make I'll consult with my lawyers who will have to ask the prosecutions or the one who made the mistake, his boss must pay the fees at least, so that I can go back, because I no longer, you remember I lost being a minister, I lost being a chairperson of a committee of parliament. I now have lost to be on the list
so it's simple.
Of my party.
So I think it's simple where this is directed at, because Judge John Hlophe, well, perhaps I shouldn't even use that title because he was impeached as a judge. So I don't think I'm allowed to call him even former judge. But he was impeached, but he obviously was employed by the state. And so, in other words, you're saying the state should pay your legal fees.
I'm just saying, and it's going to be a polite request to the state that, you see, all I needed to do was to present myself to the state and present my case. And if the prosecution ran the whole thing, the one who's judging say, I don't see a case. And then they take it to another level. Somebody says, no, it must go back. What about, I've paid fees because the state uses state money. I'm using my private money and family money. So if you say I must go back, yes, I'm prepared to go, but what about the financial implications of this? So the request I'm going to make to them that, okay, one of you, either those that the judge reports to or the prosecution, please pay my legal fees. If you can't pay my legal fees and pay the lawyer that represented me, because I was not wrong. You can't blame me in the whole process. Is there a problem? In the Mbombela, if they appeal and it is found that the presiding officer has erred, it has nothing to do about me. It's not my process. My process is to present myself and present my case. And somebody must say you are right or you are wrong. So in this case, both in Cape Town and in Mbombela, they are saying, Chief, you are granted Section 174 of the Criminal Procedure Act. And you know what that means? Section 174, it says it was unnecessary for them to bring you into this court. That's what the implication of Section 174, discharge.
Yet here you are, willing to forgive and forget, at least on the one case that is in Mbombela or was in Mbombela. In Cape Town, should that one be revived, it's again possibly a different ball game. I want to ask personally now, I think you've touched on it to some degree, how this has affected you at a personal level. How has it affected you politically? You've had two cases. But you know, politically, when you speak about step aside in our organization, it was like I'm a face of the step aside itself. And I always said, let's look at it differently. But there's a decision of an organization. And a decision, when it's there, it must be respected. Yeah. Whether right or wrong, it must be respected. Then we'll look at the implications. I think as we go forward, now that I no longer have any case in front of me, even the organization will look at this thing differently in future conferences on how to deal with it. I think it's a development that we'll have to look into it. It's unfortunate that what should change about it? Because as the step aside simply said, and that is that if you are charged, if you are before a court of law, in order to preserve the image of the organization, step aside.
Yes,
what would need to be changed about it?
My belief and my view was that we need to respect the supreme law of this country, the Constitution. It says that everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So I think the step aside must start at a stage where somebody is convicted. But a mere charge itself, it may be something that is peripheral, that may be something else, like now. You see, I've been stepping aside on all these positions, but none of these cases are even requesting me to come and answer a question. Then you can see how the desperation between what is happening from the prosecution and the organization. Yeah. So what I think is that it's a view that I have. I raised it when I was still in the NEC, but it was defeated by a decision. And we need to respect decisions that are taken. But now that there's a development, and the leadership can also see that, look, the court, because in the Western Cape one, you must have seen when you play your adverts, you play Judge Hlophe next to me, swearing me in and say, he's the one who judged the case. But look at the Nelspruit one, I don't know that guy, there's nothing. But he arrives at the same conclusion. So it has nothing to do with personality. It's about studying the judgment strictly and applying the facts. And if we do so, and my view is that the step aside must just happen shortly after somebody, the court pronounces we are guilty on this, then it must apply. But to say to a normal charged person, you may find that the charges are neither here nor there. Because the magistrate in Nelspruit says the things that are raised against me are neither here nor there. To understand that is a big thing on a human being. So, are you allowed to campaign right now for the ANC, or you have not been on a campaign trail? I'm a member of the ANC. I have a duty. There are people who believe in me. So I must convince them, because they call and say, if they treat you this way, what must we do? We need to have joined an organization. We have not joined individuals. We have joined an organization. We need to make sure that the organization wins. The organization is not about individuals. Individuals, they come and go. So we're supporting the organization. I'm on a campaign trail. At home, I've been requested recently that I must provide 100 names of people that I'm going to go physical to carry to go and vote for the ANC in my ward. So is that what I'm doing? I run a constituency office. Remember, I'm just still an ordinary member of parliament. I'm just no longer in any structure of the organization, but I think we're still in the organization, we're still doing work of the organization.
All right. I want to thank you very much for your time, and we'll see where things go in relation to the Western Cape case, but we're hoping to speak to you again if and when that resumes. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Available. I'm always available because, you know, the media is part of an accountability test for the people of this country. It's not only Parliament that does that. The media also assists the people to hold public representative accountable. And so that's how I take it.
And I absolutely appreciate that, and I'm sure fellow journalists will appreciate that.
No, thank you very much. I'm happy to see you once more.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bongani Bongo, I'm going to ask you to just remain there for a moment while I link to a break. Still to come on News at Prime. It's been a year, or should I say yet another busy weekend for political campaigns. Well, case in point, we've just been talking about that with Mr. Bongani Bongo here. The ANC's big wigs in the hotly contested KwaZulu-Natal province. We're going to bring you some analysis around that campaign in a moment.